Hi, I'm Morakdias, and welcome back to Army Men Operation Green. If you heard that in the background, that's Delirious bragging about beating Minesweeper, because she's a beast at Minesweeper. Ah, oh, good lord. She's also microwaving something. I made spaghetti pie. Spaghetti pie is awesome, and it's easy and cheap. This game kind of reminds me of those chopper games that were on like SNES and Genesis. I forget what they're called now. Hey, is that a 1-up?
Let's rock.
Let's rock. We fill this place with 1-ups because we know you'll die like every 5 seconds. My biggest problem is that Army Men has always been generic. And much like God, what's his name? Rayman. Certain things like won't die even though they should have years ago, and Army Men is definitely one of them. Like, I'm pretty sure there's at least 3 of them on Wii. One of these better contain goddamn health.
Let's rock.
Yeah, let's rock. Sweet. There we go. I didn't think I was actually hitting him. What the? I'm out of here. But I don't know. Some games, like, they keep spawning sequels, even though they're really not all that good to begin with. And Army Men is certainly one of them. Like, yeah, it was kind of ingenious in a way, but like, it's past, you know. It's kind of like, in my opinion, Final Fantasy. Like, 10 and its progressive sequels were epic in the way they were portrayed, but they started this trend towards these kind of spineless gay boys that apparently have some sort of love interest in the game, and even though the love interest is completely enraptured with them, they never like do anything about it. Like, I think even though you have that kind of repressed Japanese sexual culture thing, I mean, come on now. I'm pretty sure a lot of Japanese people think it's contrived as well. Like, I don't know. I just don't understand who still, like, I guess, budgets these games. Because obviously they get money to, like, make them. And I know, like, just because it's Final Fantasy, there'll always be someone to buy it. But, I mean, seriously, just after a while, you just gotta say enough is enough. And like Army Men, they'll never say enough is enough, because I don't even know what company develops it anymore. But whatever company does, obviously needs to stop. I mean, I think there are still like 5 other Game Boy Army Men games to play. Yeah. So about that. I can't, like, fathom that there'd be enough of a market to keep putting these out. I mean, granted, if you made, like, one good one, it might hold up your franchise for a little while. Get away from me, Suicide Bomber. Blow up your truck. Truck is dead. Alright, where the hell am I? I'm all the way down there? Son of a bitch. I'm gonna weave my way. I'm heading towards, like, the last objective. But I don't know, you see that a lot with games that spawn absurd amounts of sequels. This kind of, I'm gonna say behavior, because that's what it is. It's a behavior of making games that people don't really want, but you keep bringing them back. Like, I just feel so uninspired when people do that. Like, apparently they're doing like a collector's compilation with like games like Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, which granted were both like great games, but like, you know, just a port to the PS3 would be fine. Or like maybe you'd get them like in a special edition of that new one with the weird furry dragon thing, like The Last Guardian or whatever it's called. Like, that would be cool. I could see that being like a generally functional thing, like kind of like like, you know, if you liked Ico, you can get like a new copy with new features, and Shadow of the Colossus with like bonus stuff. Like, that would be totally fine with me. But like, I don't know, the advertising for it seemed more like it was a collector's pack. I could be wrong, but it seemed less about like establishing a new product. That sounds awful. As opposed to just like a direct port that wasn't very interesting. I'm gonna hit someone with a missile. That was pretty awesome. And I died. Didn't mean to hit him with a missile. So, I mean, I don't know. And they always have those, like, you know, Sly Cooper and, like, Jak and Daxter or just Daxter games that they keep pumping out. And I don't know. I just don't understand why they just, like, granted that you might be able to make some money off of it, but, like, I think it would be better to actually take a risk and try to make a new game. I mean, granted, a lot of like game franchises never work out, but at least you could say like we tried to make a new game, you know. And either way, somebody's going to like it. But like when you keep creating these uninspired genres and kind of like archetypes of games, I think you lose more people than you. Is this thing moving around? When you create these archetypes, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Like, they've spawned enough of these, like, you think they'd be able to at least do another game that's similar to it, because, I mean, granted you want some brand recognition, but, like, when I think of Army Men, I always think of subpar. Like, even if they were, like, the most epic game ever created, I don't think I could ever get into it if it was named Army Men. Like, it's very true that if you play, like, a bad game, you probably won't want to play any of its sequels, or if you didn't like the first one, you probably won't like any of the other ones. But, I don't know. I mean, we had kids when I was at GameStop who would, every time there was an Army Men game, if they hadn't played it, they would go out and get it. Just because it was Army Men. And I mean, granted, a lot of these kids were like, oh no, that game... Like, their parents would come in and be like, oh no, that game looks too violent. And, like... I mean, really, how violent can you get on a Game Boy Advance? I mean... I can't even think of... Probably, like, the most violent game would be, like, a boxing game or something. Like, other than that, I just can't see... like, Game Boy Advance and violent game in the same sentence. Like, I don't know. I'm also greatly disappointed at the fact that, much like Army Men, like, the Game Boy, as I originally knew it, lasted for, what, like, 9-10 years without a change? And they created, you know, thousands of titles, which I guess I should play through at some point, but, a lot of titles on there were terrible, and people loved them because they were really, like, dirt cheap. Screw you, Jeep. Go to hell. but it stayed relatively fine for a very, very long time because there's a lot they could do with it. Then you look forward and you have like the Game Boy Advance, which shifted over in what, like 2 years into the SP, which it is moving. You son of a whore! How am I supposed to catch up to this thing? And I just don't like the Game Boy SP was really good, and then they waited a little bit, and then they came out with the DS, which the DS, I'll admit, I was very skeptical of at first, but then I thought like, oh, there's like lots of great applications, you know. You can use one for a map or a menu, but the biggest problem is that so many people don't even implement half of the damn features it can use. Like, there are DS games that don't require you to even use the touchscreen, or there's no point to use the touchscreen when it's a lot easier just to use button commands. And that's just silly. But it's because developers haven't fully embraced the technology. Oh, there we go. Now we're cruising in style. Yeah! Run you over. Yeah, let's rock. Finally, this game actually got a little bit better. But however, the Jeep controls just as bad as my character does. But now you have, you know, the DSi, and then the DS. I'm sure, like after the 3DS that just came out, they'll have, you know, another one shortly after. That's like the DS, like with improved 3D and better battery or some BS like that, for another like $200. Which I find is like kind of a really big problem when you look at it. It's, you keep creating these peripherals, but you never really give or create these systems, but you never really create a quality game base. I mean, Game Boy was able to port tons of franchises over and make good copies of them, like the Legend of Zelda games and the Super Mario Land and all that kind of stuff. But in the newer ones, you don't get much of a chance. There's either you get like rehashes, or you get kind of, I don't know, in my opinion, games that don't fully explore the things that they could be doing. And I'm like stuck in this little corner. It's driving me crazy. I have this Jeep and I could like go anywhere, but everything's blocked off. I'll probably get out of here and then the stupid thing will be in here. Where is it now? It's all the way up there? I'm coming for you. But, I don't know. I think that there's a certain amount of time you should have for implementation. So that way, you know, your developers can actually develop games for your system. I will run you over. Don't throw grenades at me. But I don't know, like, in my opinion, the 3DS doesn't interest me at the moment because its launch title is Street Fighter, and that's not exciting. Yeah, you can say like, oh, well, Mario is always a launch title for most Nintendo systems, and that's true. But, you know, they had Contra for the Super NES as like one of the launch titles, which was just awesome. Jesus Christ, this game is going to drive me insane. This map just does like not match what's on here. If they at least showed where the roadblocks were, I could get out of this little freaking corner I'm stuck in. But I think that you need... Ugh, piece of garbage. I hate you. Can I blow you up now? Anyway, my point to all of it is that if you have something that's kind of like a... I mean, really, the 3DS is really just a rehash of the DSi with a little better processing power and some pseudo 3D that hurts the hell out of your eyes. So then you put Street Fighter, ultimately one of the games that has barely changed, even though it's released God knows how many editions. And